Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Soul Sovereignty and Sexuality Podcast with myself, Jessica Falcon, international soul embodiment guide and relationship expert. And this is part 2 of a 2-part series on sacred feminine power. Last week, I began to talk about my journey into sacred feminine power. So if you haven't already, I suggest you go listen to that episode. And this particular episode, part 2, is a little bit of my continuation of my particular journey of going from a criminal prosecutor into sacred feminine power and being a soul embodiment guide. I want to start by talking about what sacred feminine power is, because I want this episode to be more specifically on, okay, what is sacred feminine power? What is the sacred feminine? It's quite frankly become very distorted. Misunderstanding of sacred feminine. Sacred feminine is not an image that has been projected all over social media, right? It's not an image. It's a state of being. It's a level of embodiment. Sacred feminine is the soul. And coming into the sacred feminine, coming into your sacred feminine power is a reclamation of the sacredness of your body, the sacredness of life, earth, and the sacredness of yourself. Those 3 things as how we truly reclaim the sacred feminine, truly reclaim the feminine as sacred, truly reclaim our sacred feminine power. Because those 3 things have been denied for millennia. We have been told the body is an object, that it can't be trusted, and that it interferes with our connection to spirit. That is a lie. It's just simply not true. The sacred feminine, which was already recognized for millennia prior to this new collective belief system that is encoded in the story of Adam and Eve, but it was adopted before then. People understood prior to this that the body is incredibly wise. The body contains and is formed by the energy of the soul. When you go into the body, it's not to access the body itself. It is to access the energy contained within. It is to access the energy of your soul. The body does contain the subconscious mind, yes, although we have ingested unconsciously and continue to carry around, like the inherited belief systems, like old soul traumas and karmas. And in many ways, it's the energy of the soul traveling through lifetimes that it gets to then heal and come back into wholeness, come back into its power. In a way, it's like ways that the soul has given its power away. Not the soul itself, but how we have separated from the soul. Our consciousness can attune toward the soul or away from it. We attune to the divine within or we are blind to it, right? So for example, when people commit crime or kill others, they are not attuning to the divine within the one they are harming, because they're ultimately not attuning to the divine within them. Racism, sexism, homophobia, all of that, they are ultimately wounds of not recognizing the divine in others and truly in self. Because once you recognize the divine within you, you cannot help but recognize the divine in others. It's impossible. And so blindness begets blindness until you reclaim your sovereignty and you refuse to let the blindness of others be your blindness. Now, I'm going to talk about the body first. Okay, so proclaim the sacred feminine power. And this is for men and women, because feminine, sacred feminine, masculine, sacred masculine, it's not man or woman. It is everybody has sacred feminine and sacred masculine within them. Everybody, regardless of your biological sex. And one cannot exist without the other. Just like we cannot create life without masculine and feminine, conjoining to create new life. Yes, we're doing things in test tubes, but it still requires those fundamental elements that come from the masculine and feminine to create new life. And it's just, to me, a representation of how we need the feminine and masculine in balance, both within the world and within ourselves. And that balance was no longer there when millennia ago, this new belief system was adopted that said the body is interfering with our capacity to connect with spirit. It just really saddens me that this has been so prevalently adopted in a lot of religions and spiritual practices around the world. To go up and out of the body is how we achieve spiritual perfection, is what we're told. And that the more we can dissociate the body and the more we can dissociate from our feeling and dissociate from life, the more spiritually advanced we are. We wonder why there's war. We wonder why there's violence. And we wonder why there's oppression. Because if you don't bring that spiritual awareness into how you show up in the world and how you live your life, guess what happens? You're in separation consciousness, which creates all these problems we're now dealing with collectively. And the only way out of separation consciousness is union. Come back into union. So we reunite the body and soul. And guess who does that? You, me, each one of us. Can't do it for anybody else. And as you reunite body and soul, you start to live as the divine being that you are here in form. And so the sacred feminine, the reclamation of the sacred feminine in union with the sacred masculine, creates divine union, which is to embody your divinity. To embody your divinity is the sacred feminine in union with the sacred masculine coming together. You have the consciousness of the divine infused into your body and how you live your life. That sacred union, embodying your divinity, is the key of it all. I'm not saying that we need to only focus on the feminine, but we do need to reclaim the power of the feminine, because that is what has been suppressed. And quite frankly, so has the masculine in many ways. And there's a lot of toxic and wounded masculinity, what we call masculine power. It's not power at all. I think last episode talks a lot about that, but most of my episodes talk about that. It's not power at all if it's external. So the divine masculine, the capacity to observe our thoughts, to meditate, that is still very prevalent in a lot of spiritual traditions and even some religions. But this capacity to go into the body, into the feeling state, into the heart, has been suppressed. And in part because how can we recognize the body as sacred and holy, which that reclamation is the reclamation of the sacred and feminine. And that's a huge part of what I guide you to do in the Sacred Body Wisdom Foundational Series that is available to you for a very affordable price. I'll put the link below. Talk more about that later. Hopefully I'll remember. How can we do that if we don't recognize life as sacred? And we stopped collectively recognizing life as sacred about 3,500 years ago, 2,500 years ago. In part because of this belief that life kept us from God, and that God was up there in the sky, outside of life, outside of earth, and we had to basically die to be in communion with God again. That the story of Adam and Eve represented this falling from heaven as punishment. Life was punishment. Now, this is a belief system that was put into place by many different people over a very long time. For about 700 years, it took to write the story of Genesis. And it's a belief system. We have to recognize that it's a belief in order to shift out of it. There are a lot of other beliefs that are a result of this belief system. That's the crux of my work and a book that is eventually coming out around all this. Suffice it to say for this moment that when we stop denying the sacredness of life, Of course you don't see the body as sacred because the body represents life. And of course you don't see woman as sacred because woman represents life. She gives birth, she represents life. And women have historically represented the earth and life. And when we took the divine out of life, we took the divine out of ourselves, and we no longer recognize the divine within ourselves. And so in order to reclaim the sacred feminine, we have to not only reclaim the body as holy, but we reclaim life as holy. And how do we reclaim life as holy? We reclaim ourselves as holy. We reclaim the divine within us as holy, as sacred, as here, present, now. We don't go somewhere to access it. It's right here in your heart. It's right here in your body. You don't have to go anywhere to access it. And when we come in here and we access this, and we live according to this, and we discover the soul truth, we release all that's not the truth, we reclaim the power, we reclaim the sovereignty, we reclaim the freedom. You can't help but experience life as sacred because you recognize that you are one with all of life, and the divine is in all things. The divine is in all things. When you recognize that the divine is in all things, you show up pretty differently. You recognize that everything is happening for you. And all of this is really about embodying love, because frequency of your soul is the frequency of divine love. And so in order to embody your soul, you embody the frequency of divine love. And then you infuse that frequency of divine love into every part of you. Again, this is a huge activation in the Sacred Body Wisdom Foundational Series. You infuse the divine love into every part of you. You infuse that divine love into your thoughts. You infuse that divine love into your beliefs. You infuse that divine love into your feelings, into your heart, into every cell of your body. You infuse that into your relationships. Divine love, not human love, not conditional love, divine love. You infuse that into every choice, every word, every action. You align to this. You align to this. You align to this. You align to this in every breath. You align to this in every moment. This is a constant alignment. Now it becomes easier and easier and easier when this is how you live your life and this is how you show up all the time. At the beginning, it can feel really tough because most of our belief systems, how we show up, especially in relationships, are based on need. Do lots of other episodes on this. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast or sign up to receive weekly emails into your inbox, because I do lots of talks on this in relationships. The feminine is embodiment. The feminine is how we show up. It's an experience. It's a knowing. It is not an idea. And if we're operating from need, if we're operating from lack, we're not operating from soul. We're not operating from love. Love is based on desire. I am already full. I am already love. I am already this. And I just desire more. I desire to experience life. If there's no desire, why would you even get out of bed? There has to be desire. Desire is essential for life, which is why desire has been so forbidden, because desire is essential for life. If you honor the sacredness of life, then you honor the sacredness of yourself. When you honor the sacredness of body, then pleasure is inevitable. Sensuality is how you live. Your senses are activated because you are activated. This is your life force energy. So part of the reclamation of the sacred feminine, your sacred feminine power, is activating your life force energy, what you might call kundalini. I don't like to use the term kundalini. It's very misunderstood. But you activate it. When you activate your kundalini, you activate your life force energy by going into the depths of you. Sacred Body Wisdom Foundational Series is activating this life force energy in you. It's activating kundalini. It's you go into the depths of you and you bridge your humanity with your divinity, and you merge the primal with the divine. This is that activation. You create space. You allow that life force to move through you. It's unimpeded. And that is one of the reasons why the goddess, the sacred feminine, has always been represented by a snake. The snake lives really close to the ground. It's connected to the earth. It moves off vibration. It feels the vibration of everything around it. Its belly is on the earth. And it also rises and curls and undulates like life force energy, like Kundalini energy. And it represents wisdom, knowledge. The thing that's been forbidden is the sacred feminine power. And that's what I offer you. That's what I offer you in the Sacred Feminine Power Retreat coming up in Greece in September. Put the link below. That's what I offer you in this podcast, these activations, these remembrances. It's what I offer you in the Sacred Body Wisdom Foundational Series, all of my retreats and workshops. When you work with me one-on-one, it is this activation of this remembrance. It is this forbidden fruit so that you embody this power and you reclaim your sovereignty. You embody your divinity. And it's been forbidden because when we do this, we cannot be controlled. And when we do this, there isn't anything left but freedom. It's how you come home. It's how you ascend. You ascend your consciousness back to the divine that you are. And then this shifts the world. This shifts collective. This is why we need the sacred feminine now more than ever. Because the remembrance of the sacred feminine, the feminine as sacred, life, body, self includes other, union, is how we end the economic distress and the warfare and the struggle. It's how we end suffering. The goddess Isis understood this. We don't end suffering by going out and fighting for it. We end suffering by recognizing the divine that we are. I'm going to leave it here today because this is an activation and this is a frequency transmission. I'm going to end it here. Be sure to subscribe, like, leave your comments. I'd love to hear from you. I read each one. And I'll put the links below for the upcoming retreat to Greece on Sacred Feminine Power, that Sacred Body Wisdom series that I mentioned, how you can schedule a free sovereignty breakthrough session with me. And I would love to hear from you. Sending you lots of love, and I'll see you next week.